Now, why I want to spend some time with these concepts of regret and remorse and contrition is because these key aspects of is because these key kinds of responses to missteps in life, to the things that we do that hurt other people, pretty much parallel the kinds and extent of character disturbance that people have. So, the degree to which someone, for example, will experience and demonstrate true remorse versus regret will tell you pretty much where they are on the character disturbance spectrum and how serious of trouble you have in your relationship and how likely it is that this person will ever change. And even if they have the motivation to, what it would take in the way of uh, skilled intervention, proper intervention, to help facilitate that change. So let's talk just a little bit about the concept of regret. I'm sure all of you have at least had to express some regrets to an invitation sent in the mail, maybe to attend a wedding or some other event. And the card asks you to RSVP, and it gives you an address or a procedure for regrets only. And regret is really about the personal cost to you when you have to make a choice or when you've made a choice. And so if there are two events, an example would be if there are two events that are meaningful to you and they occur on the same day and at the same time, most of us can't bilocate. We can't be in two places at the same time. So we have to choose between one or the other. And when we choose one over the other, we have to sacrifice something. We have to give up something. And so we express regret or we experience regret over that. So regret has to do with what something costs us. And in relationships, when people do things to hurt people, or when they commit missteps in life, when they cross certain boundaries, maybe break the law or do something like that, they can have a consequence that affects them directly. They can pay a significant price for what they did. And whatever that cost is, may be a source of regret for them. Maybe they regret, maybe somebody, for example, who has recklessly, once again, gotten behind the wheel when they were not sober enough to do so and have now had their license suspended. They may have some regret about that because they may have some practical dislike for not having as much freedom to travel at their own initiative and in their own way. So it costs them, and they may regret their actions. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're experiencing enough discomfort to want to change their behavior. Remorse, on the other hand, is something very, very different from regret. Remorse has to do with feeling badly about the misstep, about the action. It's feeling badly over behavior that you know caused injury or that you appreciate may have caused his injury, that violated a norm, that maybe even injured someone. Remorse is that it goes way beyond regret because it goes beyond the personal cost to you for whatever it is you did. It goes well beyond that. It's no longer about the personal cost to you for what you did. It's about the impact of what you did and the pain caused another, or the pain caused society in general. So remorse is having the capacity to feel badly about that and actually feeling badly about that. Now, remorse is a lot better when it comes to relationships than is pure regret. Because the remorseful person may, in fact, have some motivation to change. But in order to even have remorse, you have to have a somewhat evolved conscience. And you have to have empathy, at least some degree of empathy. Otherwise, you're not going to feel badly for the hurt you caused somebody else. But even remorse itself is not generally enough to really motivate somebody to turn their life around and to really change the nature of a relationship that has become in some way either abusive or exploitative. A step beyond remorse is contrition. It's a concept not very often talked about. I talk about it quite a bit in my book, The Judas Syndrome. You can read about it. It comes from the Latin contritus. The contrite spirit is a broken spirit. The word actually means crushed spirit or crushed in spirit. The contrite person is broken inside because of the injury they know they caused another. It breaks their heart to have wounded the heart of another. And when a heart is broken, to live again, the person can't go on doing the same old things. It would only break their heart again. And no one lives broken in spirit very long. To live again, one has to resolve to do better and to be better. And it shows when someone is contrite, when they have true contrition, when they hurt because of the hurt they caused you and they don't want to hurt anymore, and therefore don't want to hurt you anymore. They do two things necessarily. They do their best to repair the damage. I'll repeat that. They do their very best to repair the damage. And they do so humbly, gladly, not with reluctance, but happily and humbly. They repair the damage, or they do their best to. And then second, they take active steps not to inflict the same injury again. They do the work of self-repair, growth, self-examination. Sometimes they might have to take themselves to task. They invest themselves. You see them invest time and energy in making themselves a different person. And it shows over time in the manner in which they deal with you. It's not an act. It's a real attempt. It's a real attempt to both be different. Excuse me. It's a real attempt to not only do differently, but to be different, to change, to discard the old ways and replace them with new ways, and to discard the old construct of self, and to be a newer, better version of oneself. Contrition shows in so many ways. And it's how you judge whether someone has the character to be a faithful relationship partner. These days, unfortunately, all too many folks stay in relationships with disturbed characters who never evidence any contrition over their hurtful behavior. Sometimes, when caught or confronted about a harmful behavior, the only thing you hear back from them, they might regret the personal cost to them, but the only thing you hear back from them sometimes is the excuse for it, or maybe even blaming you, as opposed to accepting responsibility, expressing genuine remorse, and even better than that, demonstrating a true broken heart over the injury they caused, genuine sorrow, and an effort to ensure that it never happens again. This is the mark of character. And the absence of these things are the evidence of the more malignant forms of narcissism, a scourge plaguing our times and a byproduct of our times. And that's why I've dedicated my life and my work to helping people understand this phenomenon of our age. And in the next podcast, I'm going to be talking about the 10 Commandments of Character. I'm going to be beginning a series on the 10 Commandments of Character that I'm fashioning into a new and perhaps my last book. So I hope you'll join me as we begin that discussion. And I thank you once again for tuning in to this edition of The New Character Matters. And I invite you once again to visit my blog at drgeorgesimon.com or manipulative-people.com. Avail yourself of my books, In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People, Character Disturbance, the Phenomenon of Our Age, The Judas Syndrome, and How Did We End Up Here? The Survivor's Guide to Navigating This Character Disturbed World of Ours, and all the free resources on my blog. So until next time, thanks for tuning in. I'm Dr. George Simon. Take care.